Good morning, my friends. I want to start by acknowledging something that many of us know all too well. Life can be exhausting. Whether it's the demands of your job, the weight of your responsibilities, or just the daily challenges of life, sometimes you can feel overwhelmed. You can feel like you've given all you've got and wonder if you can keep going. But I want to remind you today, in the midst of your tiredness, you are not alone. God knows exactly where you are. He sees your struggle. He hears the cry of your heart. He understands the weight you're carrying, even if you haven't spoken it out loud. God sees every single thing you're going through. When you're tired and feel like you've been running on empty, He's not distant. He hasn't turned His back on you. He's with you every step of the way. And hear me today, God knows your struggle. You may feel like no one else sees it, like no one understands the pain and the exhaustion you're enduring. But the truth is, God sees it all. He sees your heart, your thoughts, your worries, and even those things you haven't had the strength to voice. He hears the cries of your heart. That's why I want you to know, right where you are, rest is available. God doesn't want you to stay in a place of constant weariness. Jesus said in Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." There's rest available for you right now, a peace that surpasses understanding. Maybe you're wondering, how can I rest when there's so much to do, when I've got a million things on my plate? Well, my friend, when you trust God with the burden, He'll give you the strength to keep going. In your weariness, He's ready to give you new energy, new hope, and new courage. Isaiah 40:29 tells us He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. If you're feeling weak today, if you're feeling like you can't take another step, God will strengthen you. He will give you the power you need for this moment and every moment that comes after it. And here's something incredible in your weakness. God's power is made perfect. The moments when you feel like you're at your lowest are often the moments where God is doing His greatest work in you. His strength shines brightest in our weakness. So don't be discouraged. The very fact that you're tired means God is positioning you for something even greater. I know it's hard. I know it feels like the struggle will never end, but here's the thing, this too shall pass. The season of weariness is temporary. God is preparing you for greater things ahead, for a season of rest, peace, and victory. Hold on, because God is not finished with you yet. And today I want you to remember this: trusting God brings peace in the chaos. Even in the midst of your challenges, God will give you peace that doesn't make sense to the world. It's a peace that comes from knowing He's in control, knowing that He is with you and for you. So I want to encourage you today to take a moment right where you are and invite God into your tiredness. Invite Him into your heart. He's listening. He knows exactly what you need, and He is ready to pour out His strength, His peace, and His rest into your life. Remember, my friends, God knows that you are tired. He knows your struggles, and most importantly, He hears your heart. You are not forgotten, and you are not alone. Life has a way of weighing us down, no matter how hard we try. Sometimes it feels like the burdens we carry are just too much to bear. Maybe it's the demands of work, the stress of relationships, or the personal challenges that seem to come from every direction. At times you might feel like you've given everything you've got, but it still doesn't feel like enough. And in those moments, the exhaustion can creep in physically, emotionally, and spiritually. But today I want to remind you of one of the most important truths you can hold on to: you are not alone. When life feels overwhelming, it's easy to think that no one understands or that no one truly sees what you're going through. You might feel isolated, like you're carrying the weight of the world on your own shoulders. But I want you to know right now that there is a God who sees every part of your struggle. He sees the tears that fall when no one is watching, the silent prayers whispered in the quiet of your heart, and the weary steps you take when you feel like you can't go any further. He sees you, and He is with you. You may feel tired. You may feel like you've been running on empty for far too long. But God is not distant, and He is not unaware of your circumstances. He knows the depth of your exhaustion, the thoughts that keep you awake at night, the fears and doubts that try to take root in your heart. And in the midst of it all, He is standing with you. He is walking beside you, even when you can't feel His presence. His love for you never falters, and His attention never wavers. Sometimes in the busyness of life, we forget that God is always listening. We think that because we don't always have the right words, because we can't express everything we're feeling, maybe He won't understand. But the truth is, God doesn't just hear our words, He hears the cries of our hearts. Even when we don't know how to pray, even when the pain is too much to put into words, God knows. He knows our hearts. He knows what weighs us down. He knows the worries we carry, the dreams we're afraid to speak aloud, and the wounds we're too afraid to show to anyone. God isn't just aware of your struggles, He cares deeply about them. He cares about you more than you can imagine. Every moment of weariness, every moment of doubt, He sees and He responds with compassion. You are never forgotten. You are never abandoned. No matter how alone you may feel, God is always with you, offering His presence, His strength, and His peace. When you're tired, when you feel like you've been carrying the world on your shoulders for far too long, know this: you don't have to carry it alone. You don't have to walk through this season by yourself. God promises that He will never leave you or forsake you. He doesn't just stand by while you struggle. He is actively working in your life. Even when you can't see it, He's moving behind the scenes, preparing the way, strengthening you for what lies ahead. I want to remind you today that there is no mountain too high, no valley too deep that God can't walk you through. When you feel tired and ready to give up, His strength is available to you. His peace can wash over you, even in the chaos. There is a rest that is found in His presence, a peace that the world cannot offer. When you invite Him into your weariness, you will find the strength to keep going. You are not alone in this. God has never left your side. He's closer than you think, and He is always ready to lift you up when you feel you can't go any further. His love for you is unchanging. His faithfulness is unshakable. So today, take a deep breath and remember that God is with you. He is walking this journey with you step by step. You are not alone. He sees you, He hears you, and He will never leave you. Take heart and know that His presence will guide you through whatever you face. There are times in life when we feel overwhelmed, when the struggles we face seem insurmountable, and when the weight of the world feels like it's resting on our shoulders. You may find yourself in a place where you're giving your best effort, trying to hold everything together, but it still feels like you're falling short. You might wonder, why is this happening to me? Why does it feel like I'm carrying this burden alone? It's in these moments of exhaustion and frustration that we need to remember a powerful truth: God knows your struggles. The beauty of this truth is that God isn't distant or detached from your pain. He is not unaware of the hardships you are facing. In fact, He knows them intimately, every challenge, every setback, every tear you've shed. Even in the moments when you feel the most alone, God is with you, and He is aware of every single detail of your journey. He sees the battles you're fighting, the doubts you're wrestling with, and the weariness that tries to pull you down. He sees your heart, and He understands the depth of your struggles. What's so remarkable about God's awareness is that He doesn't just know what's happening on the surface, He knows the heart behind it all. He sees beyond the outward circumstances to the thoughts, emotions, and desires that shape your experience. When you feel misunderstood by those around you, when you wonder if anyone can truly grasp what you're going through, know that God understands. He understands the pain you may not have the words to explain, the grief you're carrying even when no one can see it, and the longing in your heart for things to be different. In times of struggle, it's easy to feel like we're alone, that no one else understands the weight we carry. We might look around and see others going through life as if everything is fine, while we're left to face our battles in silence. But God doesn't see things the way we do. He doesn't judge us based on appearances or external success. He looks deep into our hearts, and He sees the real us, the tired, the hurting, the overwhelmed, and the hopeful. And He loves us just as we are, right in the middle of our struggles. God's knowledge of our struggles is not passive. It's not just that He knows what we're going through. He is actively present with us in the midst of them. He doesn't just stand back and watch as we struggle. He walks alongside us, offering comfort, strength, and guidance. In moments when we feel like we've hit a wall, He is right there, ready to carry us through. The Bible tells us in Psalm 34:18, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. God's nearness is not just a comforting thought, it's a tangible reality. When you are hurting, when you feel like you can't take another step, He is right there, close to you, ready to support and sustain you. It's important to remember that God's knowledge of your struggles isn't limited to just the physical or emotional challenges you face. He also knows the internal struggles, the battles that happen in your mind and heart. He knows the fear you may be trying to hide, the anxiety that quietly consumes you, and the insecurities you wish you could overcome. God doesn't just see the outward circumstances, He sees the battles within. And He is ready to help you win those battles too. He doesn't leave us to fight alone. He equips us with His strength, His peace, and His wisdom to face the challenges that come our way. In the middle of our struggles, it's easy to forget that God has not abandoned us, but He hasn't. He is faithful, and He is faithful, and He is with us every step of the way. When life gets hard, when it feels like we can't go on, we need to remember that God is not just a distant observer. He is an ever-present help in times of trouble. He knows your struggles, and He is always there offering you His love, His peace, and His strength to carry on. So today, no matter what you are facing, remember that God sees you. He knows what you're going through. You are not alone in your struggles. He understands your pain. He hears your cries, and He is ready to help you find the strength to keep going. You don't have to walk this road alone. God knows your struggles, and He will walk with you through every trial, every challenge, and every moment of weariness. There are moments in life when the weight we carry becomes overwhelming. It can feel like the demands of daily life are stacking up higher and higher, and the burden of it all is too much to bear. Whether it's the pressure from work, the weight of responsibilities at home, the pain of loss, or the fear of the unknown, there are times when we feel like we are sinking under the load. It's easy to think that no one else understands what we're going through, that no one else can feel the heaviness that presses down on our hearts and minds. But I want to remind you today of something incredibly important. God knows the weight you carry. God is fully aware of the burdens you bear, the responsibilities you're juggling, and the emotional and mental toll it all takes on you. He knows the exhaustion you feel when you've given everything you have and there's still more to be done. He sees the anxiety that keeps you up at night, the worry that weighs you down during the day. In moments when you feel like no one else understands, God understands. He is not distant or indifferent to your struggles. He is deeply attuned to the heaviness of your heart. What's so powerful about this truth is that God doesn't just know the weight you carry in a general sense. He knows it in a personal, intimate way. He knows the specific challenges you face. He knows the people who are causing you stress, the decisions you are wrestling with, the fears that are holding you back. He sees the things you feel you can't share with anyone else. And not only does He know, but He cares deeply about the weight you're carrying.